Mr. Joshua, welcome to the show. Do you mind telling us where you're joining us from? I think you've been here before. I don't remember. I'm getting old. Tell us where you're joining us from, and then what you have to say. You
Yeah.
have to unmute yourself. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Damages. I think I've been watching more of your program on YouTube. This is the first time I'm joining the group.
Okay.
And I'm calling in from Charlotte in North Carolina.
Okay, good.
For want of terms, I'm actually from the Middle Belt.
Okay.
From Plateau, to be specific. What I find quite worrisome is the mindset that, has embedded itself, in us, since the 60s up to now. And that is the politics of identity, the politics. Now, what we're looking for today, we're looking for not politicians per se to lead us, but leaders. And I think there is a distinction between a politician and a leader. Number two, I thought about what Obi and Kwankwaso were negotiating. My understanding, virtually a lot of my life, 17 years, I was in ABU's area. So I understand the dynamics, of the Northern North, to be specific. And I think there is the need for a shift in mindset. And I was expecting that particularly those of us, or those of them who are born after independence, should be able to do that. I have a younger brother who has been engaged in this, the youth and all of that. And like the Kwankwasia, when we talk, those are always the issues that he would bring up. And I said, look, it's time for a change. We cannot continue this way. There is something going on in Sri Lanka right now. And I think the Prime Minister has had to announce, that he will step down. It was a massive movement. Everyone, they just went there and sacked him in human numbers. We don't have to wait for that time. If we want to continue with the all identity politics, we could as well not have a Nigeria. And I don't see us, whether going by all those who are already embedded in that setting. They've raised young people who think like them and think that is the only way forward for Nigeria. And I tend to see hope. I tend to see promise. If only we can reorient ourselves and I say, look, this is the time for a change. When will we get there? Haven't we been pushed to the wall enough? And I think it is time for us to really push back. And I say, look, it's not a politics of whether tribe or religion, just like, the pair or the duo are saying. My only concern, particularly with the elites and particularly those of them who are good in English, is that we keep on speaking to ourselves. I like, what Obi does. He comes up with whatever he wants to say, deep from inside his heart without position papers. Now, for the running mate, I think he's been in academics for so long. And so when he talks, those who have been in academics would understand clearly, what he is saying. There has to be now a team that would indeed break those heavy languages, articulation, and bring it down to the level of the masses. And I don't think they're taking it lightly. As to who negotiates, whether Obasanjo is involved or not, Obasanjo is a Nigerian, for goodness sake. I mean, why do we have to limit his choices? And I believe that Kwankwaso did accept, to sit in that negotiation, and Obasanjo was there. If it had gone in his favor, we wouldn't be saying quite a number of the things that we're saying. My only concern, particularly with Kwankwaso for populists generally, you could end up recreating a situation that happened between Obasanjo and Atiku. Now, if they do not share the same kind of ideas, well, the world is ruled by ideas. It's not identity. It's not ruled by religion, but ruled by ethnicity and all of that. The world is ruled by ideas. If you have somebody who does not share your kind of, direction you are going to, you would end up worse than, the relationship between Obasanjo and Atiku, because he would be going to the left and you are going to the right. I had my own doubts about that it will work. Of course, Kwankwaso has his base. The Kwankwasias in Kano and all of that, we understand that. But what is the precedence? What are the record? What has he done? Has he lifted them up? And I love something that Dati said. He said, look, what would need to happen is that civic education. If that was one of the things burning in my heart. Have you ever seen a Fulani Almajiri? No. They don't put their children in that kind of a setting. Is the original indigenous population, they introduce a brand of Islam. And so their children are the ones that are the Almajiri. You keep them perpetually. It's a feudal system in the north. And Britain tolerated that and partnered with them for that indirect rule. Where I live, I mean, I had to learn Hausa, in church. We had classes in church to learn to speak Hausa. And we have had to adopt Hausa to cut across the middle belt as a lingua franca because our tribes are so many and so numerous, and you need a common language to communicate. So I look at it from this perspective. The person, of course, he has raised some kind of a populist image. He has the right to it. But for the younger generation to think would continue on that in that old mold, that is what bothers me. My younger brother, those are some of the things I keep on, discussing. And he thinks that if you don't know somebody who knows somebody, you will be nothing in Nigeria. The connections, the this and that. I said, look, my rising up in Nigeria to the places that God took me to, it was based on people that never knew me from Adam, Alhaji Wali, who is from the north, and then, of course, Professor Ladipo, who was a Yoruba man, and then Professor, another Igbo man, and so forth. So it's not a question of you have to do. The system has broken down that mentally our youth, they think that you have to go the way that these old people are telling us to. And so my plea, and particularly for the young people, and particularly for, that the generation born after independence who have experienced what it is for NYSC, they should know that it's a different Nigeria. I don't think anyone who can sit on a conference table and say, okay, Oduduwa go, IPOP go, all of that. It would be war. And like I said, I hate what is going on in Sri Lanka, but the government brought them to that point. And they're now sacking the government by force, sheer force of numbers. And the prime minister just announced and said, look, okay, I am leaving government. Do we have to get to that point? Do we have to? I was in Jos, in April. And where I stayed, kidnappers visited me in my younger brother's house and took him away. And I'm still recovering, from the trauma. I know what that is on ground. And so the essence is that, look, the North has to be liberated. They've been kept in a sort of a shackle, and particularly the Northern North. There's nothing wrong with religion unless you use it to the detriment and keeping some people perpetually, under, and you have a feudalistic aristocratic system that you are so happy, you are so glad to live under them. When they marry, they share phones, and then you admire the regalia. That's typically what the mentality is in the North. The dressing, and the flamboyance, and then you are so happy that you are living under the reign of people like that. It shouldn't be. I look forward to young people going to offices, all those huge, gigantic offices, strip them down for goodness sake. Put desks there. Put on things that would only mean you were looking at your ideas, not the wares, not those flamboyancy and, the things that come with you. That we should de-emphasize it. But like I said, it's difficult, but I think it's something doable. And I believe that Dati, they're all looking at this. I've covered virtually all the states in the Federation. I coordinated a program that ran through the NYC Council for weeks, every orientation. And I understand we did jingles and we did research all across Nigeria and then craft jingles in every language. And we had gatekeepers, including the Northern North. So it's something that is doable, but we have to be determined that now or never. I don't see us as a nation continuing like this. The old order, okay, it's identity politics, my tribe, my religion, my this and that, which has killed us up to this point. Haven't we had enough? And I believe that we should join hands. You might think that, yeah, we should join hands with young men with ideas. Ideas rule the world. It's not religion, it's not politics, it's not identity. And so we have to now recreate that mindset, particularly in young people. And then, secondly, the older ones that can come along will appreciate that. But enough is enough. How far can we be pushed as a nation? I lived in all parts of I was in Lagos for 10 years. Like I told you, Abu Zaria, for 17 years and all of that. And I know what all of these games, they talk of Nigeria as if it belongs to only Hausa, Fulani, Hausa, Igbo, and, and Yoruba. And so the politics takes that dimension, but numerically the minorities far outnumber, these people. Why can't we think outside of the box? And for our young people, I don't know how we'll address it. And the young man, I love you, sir, Kwankwasia guy. I love you, and I pray that it's your generation. You can't give up on Nigeria. If you give up on, where are you going? You say you have only one, the only passport is Nigerian passport. Should we continue to play their game? Should we continue to say, well, this is the way it's played? So when you talk, I see my younger brother in you. And I know the way he looks at things, the perspective, and say, well, that's how I was raised. I said the fact that you are raised that way doesn't mean you cannot change. The world is changing. It has changed and left us behind. Let's team up with these younger men. They have ideas when they go wrong. They have steered us enough that even if it is by mass action, we can strip them, from Asoro. But these ones, they would make sure the security is everywhere you can. Most of us do not even know what Asoro looks like. And yet, this is supposed to be the government of the people, by the people, for the people. We don't know. Because the security condoms and the insecurity. Please, let's have a change of mindset. And my prayer has always been going to the younger generation, that they should not be the ones to tell us, the older ones, we've had enough of this nonsense that you brought us into all these years. Nigeria is collapsing in our faces, and you want to still continue with the politics of identity, religion, and tribe. Why? The NYC taught us a lot of things, and particularly the post-independence, graduates. Some of you married from the other tribes. And this is what we want for Nigeria. We must march forward. And to me, is that I see this at the end. It doesn't matter what you think of that. Of course, somebody comes from somewhere. And you know that in the North, the issue of family and how powerful they are, it counts also. And so if that is the younger brother of Baba Ahmed, there's nothing wrong with that. The in-law to General Gusso, nothing wrong with that. Somebody has to come from somewhere. And all there is to it is that his understanding, his precedence, he may not have been practically applied himself in terms of seeing results, but he has a leader who has done so he can put him through. They think the same, they have the same direction, sort of, and Obi is the one in the driver's seat. Let's believe them. Let's always not say it has always been like that. It has always been like that. And therefore, the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. It shall not be. It's time to put an end. I like Kwankwaso. With all the flamboyance and all those things he does, I don't hate him. But we're talking of building a nation and not individuals. And Obi said, look, it is not me. In fact, I am only the arrowhead, but it's the government by the young people and you. Those are the kind of leaders we should be seeking out for. It might take us long, even when they get into office, but let us be determined. Finally, Obi mentioned something that most people did not even capture it. He said, the manifesto, they are going to base it, embed it in the SDGs. It used to be called Millennium Development Goals. Where China is the UN Millennial Development Goals. China used the Millennial Development Goals to bring it where it is right now. Most of the Asian countries use now it's called SDG. It's social, something which is a UN framework for development. And these are things that have been pulling countries away, and making them move faster than they could ever. He mentioned it, but our journalist it's also pathetic. The way they ask questions is always hearsay. And this person said this. What do you have to say about that? This person said, and that's virtually the questions they keep on asking. And I said, look, can't you people change? Can't you change and be more investigative? They look more like apologies for the government, and that's why they cannot even hold the government to ransom. They cannot say, and they promised it when this regime came in. We're going to monitor you, but they are now apologists of any government in power, not just this. And they keep on saying, but the government has said, and yet we have freedom of information bill, which has been passed. What are they doing? I know these media houses, they are privately owned, and then some of the journalists have to play by the game. But for goodness sake, we should go beyond. This person said this about you. What do you say? And that is, you listen to an interview, it infuriates me. I say, is that all that you have to ask this person? Or they said, PDP and APC are giving solutions for the insecurity. And I said, what a stupid question. I mean, for 7 years, you've been given solutions, how to go about solving it. Is that what? And then you are asking me, you haven't told us how. Our journalists, in fact, the whole media, they are really not the whatever reign. Okay? They are asking the same question. If they like you, or if they are looking for, it's like they're looking for some appointment in government. And that infuriates me. I said, look, you have a role to play to educate the public. And civic education is fundamental. That in primary schools, young people know what the three arms of government is, their role in holding their local government chairman accountable, their councillors accountable, and all of that. We don't have that in Nigeria. All we're fighting for is for appointment. All we're fighting for is that if I play it right and I get into their good books, I will get an appointment. When you mobilize people from that base, they will have to be answerable to you. And I said, look, is this not the same media? They told us in 2014, 2015. They even spelled out all the promises and say, we're going to make sure and take you to task. None of them is doing that. They have thrown that into dustbin. In interviews, none of them will dare say, this is what you said in 2014 or 2015. In fact, it just goes on. And I say, what kind of a world are we living in? And yet, Nigerians everywhere outside the country, the spirit of excellence. So I really hope that, a change of heart, a change of mindset. We have individual disagreements, which is acceptable. And then we see individuals and we can insult them. I don't like you, that sort of a thing. That's okay. You don't have to like everybody. Not everybody likes you either. But there is a level of tolerance and forbearing with each other if we have to pull. Finally, my community, my village, I visited and we did some kind of just a mapping to find out what the truth is that they don't need much in those villages. If you calculate the cost of a primary health care, you calculate sinking a borehole in where, they find things so hard. They don't need much. We have emperors as governors. They are emperors. It's not just the president. The governors are as terrible as the head of state. They behave, with the federal money is my money. And when they now do something, it's like, no, it's our money. And so I love it. Please, let's move from from consumption to production. They look like just, things, theory and so forth. But practically he demonstrated. And what Obi applied in Anambra was the MDGs. The Millennial Development Goals. That is what he applied in Anambra. And it shot him up to number 1. He wants to apply, it's now called SDG. In Nigeria, we say, no, these are young people. They did the same for this one. When shall we stop that? Please. And as influencers, we can influence those at home. My younger ones, the youth, they know me. They say he has come again. I know what it was during the elections. the first term of, I was at home. I went to the villages, the whole air was charged and all you could see. In fact, it defied even reasoning. It was either Baba. Some of us, we knew him. But when some parts of the country cry, is they say, look, you don't know this guy. Since he retired, he has never self-improved. Since he retired, he has never given a seminar. So what were you expecting to get from him? Since he retired, he was just attending to his car. And you want that guy to perform wonders? You know, and that is the identity politics we're talking about. So I really hope, and I sincerely hope, and Dr. Damages, I know I've been itching to just, because when I saw the discussion, I was so excited. I said, this is the kind of thing, you know, we should be engaging in. And finally, as a note, as you share with others, please, these ones who blow a lot of grammar, you know, on interviews and so forth, it's only me and you that will understand them. We get to know exactly what they are saying. But the truth is that the person right down there, and I hope and I pray that Dati and all these, you know, army of young people that I see on internet, I've been doing more of liking the post than even commenting, because you make the wrong word, they would pounce at you. But I love what young people, I've worked with young people for most of my life, okay? And I know how, if you steer them up, they have a vision, they have a direction. There is nothing that can stop them. And please move your younger ones, move your community members, and just tell them, haven't you had enough? Well, I mean, how long? For goodness sake, how long? So thank you, sir. I deeply appreciate it. And I look forward to some of these discussions. I'll do more of listening.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.